All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Life Sciences Grade 10. My name is Duduzile Gubega, and today the topic is cell division, and the subtopic there is mitotic phase. Remember yesterday we discussed the cell cycle, and then we discussed the G0, which G0 phase is not part of the cell cycle. Remember we mentioned that. With the main cycles in the main processes in the cell cycle include the G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, and then the mitotic phase. The G0 S phase and the G1 S phase and G2 phase are all part of the interphase, whereby the DNA there is growing and replicating. Then in the mitotic phase, that's where the DNA is now going to divide, the cells undergoing cell division. Mitotic phase, also called M phase, is composed of two tightly coupled processes. These processes are tightly coupled together. So it's not, it's two of them, you see? There's a process of mitosis, and then there's a process of cytokinesis. These are two. They're all both of them are part of the mitotic phase. So we will learn all the various steps. There are many steps. I think about 4 steps under mitosis. Then there is cytokinesis. During mitosis, the chromosomes in the cell nucleus separate into two identical sets in two nuclei. I said it to you. It will be like this. You have your cell, then the products would be like this. So now we are in this, we are not just focused on the cell. When I show you this, I was just showing you the cell and how it splits into two, right? Now we are focused on what's inside the cell, which is the chromosomes. So if in one cell you had 2 chromosomes, if in one cell, let's say you had 2 chromosomes here, during the split, it would be 1 here, 1 here. You understand? That's how the division would happen. But I'll show you step by step of everything else. This is going to be followed after this process of cell division. It will be followed by cytokinesis, in which the cytoplasm, organelles, and cell membrane split into 2 cells containing roughly equal shares of these cellular components. So this is the product you will see after cytokinesis. But during the mitosis stages, you will see exactly what happens to the chromosomes inside the cell. And then those stages, what takes place during the stages of M phase? M phase is the mitotic. So don't ever confuse the mitotic phase with mitosis. Don't confuse the two, they are different. Mitotic phase is the main phase whereby mitosis and cytokinesis fall underneath that. So the process includes the 4 broad phases of mitosis, which is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Then the 5th phase of cytokinesis. So the first 4 here are part of the process of mitosis. These 4, they are the stages of mitosis. Then the last one there is the cytokinesis. So remember that. So during the M phase, there are 4 stages under mitosis, and there's the 1/5 stage, which is cytokinesis. Now, the stages of this cell cycle, the stages of the cell cycle, the overall cell cycle, whereby you have the interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, can be remembered using the mnemonic IPMAT, which is IPMAT. Yeah? So to help you, maybe you can even add the cytokinesis as well. But cytokinesis is the last part, right? It doesn't fall part of mitosis, but you can add it as well. What is a mnemonic? A mnemonic is how we use words like this to help you remember the word. You see the I is for interphase, P is for prophase, M is for metaphase, A is for anaphase, and T is for telophase. So you can use this IPMET, you know you're explaining the cell cycle, which is the interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. It will help you, you'll really remember. Remember, this is a phase on its own with 3 phases. There is the G1 phase, there is the S phase, and there is the G2 phase. These ones here, and they take the longest. The cell is in the interphase for the longest time, for a longer period of time. Remember when we read yesterday, it takes about 90% of the cell cycle interphase. And then these 4 fall part of mitosis, which is the first part of the mitotic phase. The last part in the mitotic phase is the cytokinesis. So the 10%, the remaining 10% is accounted for by mitosis and cytokinesis, which is the 5th phase of the 5th process in the mitotic phase. So if you ever get that question, the 5th phase in the 5th cycle in the mitotic phase, it's cytokinesis. The 4th one in the mitotic phase is telophase. The first one is prophase. You see, it's just basically numbering like that. Now to discuss them individually, exactly what happens. We've seen yesterday, we discussed the first 3, right? Now we are starting with the mitosis, the process of mitosis. The first one there is prophase. During prophase, the chromatin material shortens and thickens into individual chromosomes, which are visible under the light microscope. Each chromosome consists of 2 strands or chromatids joined together by a centromere. I have a diagram here. There, this is the structure. Okay. I'll show you as we move along. Remember in the cell, when we did the cell last week, the nucleus, inside the nucleus, you have thin, long strands of DNA, which are called what? They were called chromatin. Those thin, long strands, you remember them, we did them last week. You have your nucleolus here. This nucleolus is the one I'm shading in right now. Then here, the thin, long strands are what we call the chromatin, right? They are thin and they are long. So during prophase, this chromatin material will shorten. Chromatin material will shorten because it's thin and long. It will shorten now and it will thicken. So it will be thicker and shorter. So I'm trying to show you how it thickens. It's thickening. It's thickening here from this chromatin material. I'm sorry, I can't shade in properly here. And then it is, the center is the chromatin. So it's basically a structure like this. Yeah, typical structure. I'll show you a properly drawn diagram here. This then will be a chromosome. And then at the center there, it would be what? These 2 chromosomes, each chromosome, this chromosome and that chromosome will be joined together by a centromere. Centromere is that part here. That's the dot in the center. So that's what happens. You see, that's what they mean by it's the chromatin shortening and thickening. That is what's happening here in the prophase. As prophase progresses, the nuclear membrane and nucleolus disintegrates. So remember again, you have your cell, your nucleus. I'm just drawing the nucleus here. This is your nucleolus. These are your chromatins, right? And then what happens? As it thickens, it forms the chromosome. The chromosome joined together by the centromere. You still have your nucleolus over here. Remember your nuclear membrane is this one, and then the nuclear membrane is this one that's covering this nucleus, right? it will disintegrate. Disintegrating, then it will, what happens? In animal cells, the centrioles will separate. Centrioles are these ones, the center, like I showed you, the center of the chromosome. It will separate and move to opposite poles. The centrioles give rise to the spindle fibers which form between the poles. In plant cells, there are no centrioles to move to the poles, so spindle fibers form in the cytoplasm. So animal cells, they have the centrioles which will separate. This centriole over here, that center, will separate. But in plant cells, there are no centrioles, so the spindle fibers will just form in the cytoplasm. This is the correct structure now of the correctly drawn chromosome. You have your number 1 is the chromatid, one arm, all right, one strand of the chromosome. One strand of the chromosome is the chromatid. It's chromatid there, chromatids. If you point out these sides, those are chromatids. Number 2 is the short arm. You see the chromosome at the top here, it's longer than at the bottom. So this one, it's a short arm. The one at the top is the long arm of chromosome. That's how you should always draw it. You must indicate that there's a top arm, which is long, then there is the short arm, which is the one here at the top. And you can clearly see the differences in length, right? And then number 3 here is that centromere. That one that is holding the chromatids together. So chromatid includes the long and short arm. So if the centromere is here, chromatid is that part of the long arm plus the short arm. That is the chromatid. And then when you label in depth, this is the short arm over here, and over there is the long arm. I hope that's clear to see. And then I want to show you this video here I accessed from YouTube. The title, if you want to go search for it on YouTube, it's called GCSE Science Revision Chromosomes. So you can type in this exact title and you'll be able to find this video. It's posted by Jemjar MMX, and this is the link. You can click to follow this video. So all credit to Jemjar and the GCSE Science School. So this is a video, you'll understand more about chromosomes, and then we'll continue discussing all other phases of mitosis.
Wow, a coloured snowstorm.
These aren't snowflakes. These are the instructions of how our bodies are built. This is a chromosome.
Oh, okay. Well, I've heard about those actually. So where in the body are they found?
Think back to the work you did on cells. These are in the nucleus of every cell in our body.
That's a lot of chromosomes. So is there just one in every cell?
No. In humans, there are 23 pairs in every cell. But all organisms have chromosomes to instruct the organism how to build itself.
Right, I think we'll need to take this rather slowly. So do all chromosomes come in pairs?
Yes, unless there's something wrong with them, but we'll come to that later.
So why do they always come in pairs then?
That's easy. We get 1/2 of a pair from each parent, which allows variation to occur.
I'm not sure I'm following this.
Okay, look, I'm sure this lot will be pretty familiar to most of you. It goes back to the sperm and the egg cell and the moment of fertilization.
Oh, yes. We all know about that.
Yes. When the two cells meet, or rather when the egg is fertilized, the corresponding chromosomes pair off. So chromosome number 3 in the sperm cell will find chromosome number 3 in the egg cell, and chromosome number 20 will seek out chromosome number 20 in the other cell, until all of the chromosomes have found their partners.
Oh, I get it. But wait a minute. Surely this means that every sperm cell and every egg cell only has one set of chromosomes, i.e. 23 single chromosomes, instead of 23 pairs.
Exactly. Reproductive cells, which produce sperm and egg cells, are very special because of this. They are the only cells in our body to have a single set of our 23 chromosomes. And this is so that when the egg is fertilized, we get an equal number of chromosomes from each parent, so that we get the full set of 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs.
For the first time, I think I actually understand it. But why do we have so many chromosomes?
Well, we are very complex creatures, you know. Each chromosome contains a number of genes, which are basically chemical instructions for one particular feature. For example, eye color, or hair type and color, or height, or limb length, etc.
But there are so many options for variation. How does all that work?
Basically, some genes are said to be more dominant than others. So, for instance, if one parent was to contribute a brown-eyed gene and the other parent was to contribute a blue-eyed gene, the brown-eyed gene would be dominant over the blue-eyed gene, which is said to be recessive. This means that the child has brown eyes.
Oh, I see. But why do people have blue eyes then? Hold on. Is it because that both parents contribute a blue-eye gene? So there's no brown-eye gene present at all?
Yeah, you're getting the hang of this now.
Okay, so when each chromosome finds its partner, the genes match up too.
Right.
Well, that all seems logical.
Good. But there's one more thing you'll need to know. All chromosomes, and therefore genes, are made up of a chemical called DNA. If we look at a chromosome closely, we can see that the DNA is coiled up to form the entire chromosome.
So it's actually DNA then that is the basis of all of this?
Yeah. DNA has its own language, just like you and I are talking English. But DNA only has 4 letters.
Well, that doesn't sound very complicated.
But it is. Because these letters appear in long strings, and there are millions and millions of different ways that these letters can be organized. And that's why all living things are so different.
Okay, so let's make sure we've got this straight. Our basic set of instructions on how we should be built and function are contained within a chemical called DNA. A given length of DNA may contain a set of instructions for a particular part of us, say hair color. So this is a gene, and lots of genes make up a whole chromosome. Well, that wasn't too hard. But what about the biggest difference between human beings? That of sex.
There's a dedicated set of chromosomes for that. Scientists have identified it as set number 23.
This pair look completely different to me.
That's because they are. These are the sex chromosomes of a male, and we can tell that from these 2 chromosomes. The one on the left is called an X chromosome and is the one of a pair provided by the mother, whilst the other one is called a Y chromosome and is provided by the father. If the Y chromosome is present alongside the X chromosome, this causes male characteristics to develop. Females, on the other hand, have 2 X chromosomes, so there's no Y chromosome present at all.
But I don't understand. If the father has contributed a chromosome, it's going to be Y. So surely this means that all children will be male, as this chromosome is dominant.
I can understand you thinking that, but don't forget that males have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome. So the sperm cell may either have an X chromosome or a Y chromosome, so that there's actually a 50-50 chance in any offspring being male or female.
Oh, I get it. So just to recap, if an egg is matched with an X chromosome sperm, then the result will be a female child. But if it's matched with a Y chromosome sperm, then the child will be male.
Good. I'm glad you've got that, because now we're going to talk about what can happen when things go wrong.
Now, how did I know that was coming?
Look, if you've got it so far, then this'll be a doddle. Obviously, chromosomes are very important structures, but also very delicate structures, which means that they may become damaged or faulty, which leads to mutations.
That sounds nasty. But what on earth does it mean?
A mutation is basically when a chromosome becomes damaged in some way, which usually happens when the chromosome replicates and something goes wrong during this process. This will almost certainly lead to some strange new characteristics.
Like
Having hair all over your body, or having purple skin, or like having two heads, or indeed having extra limbs, like this poor fly.
oh,
Yeah, let's make no bones about it. Nearly all mutations are very bad for the organism.
So if our DNA and chromosomes are so delicate, surely there are some external factors which could damage them or cause mutations.
Right again. There are four major ones which make chances of mutations much higher if you're exposed to them.
And they are?
Radiation, UV and sunlight, X-rays, and some chemicals. These chemicals that cause mutations are called mutagens, and cigarette smoke contains a lot of them.
Oh,
But there's another whole category of mutations that cause disease. These are often inherited.
what? Passed down from parent to child?
Yeah, via defective or damaged genes.
Give me an example.
Okay, let's take a look at cystic fibrosis. This disease means that the body produces a lot of sticky mucus in the lungs and digestive system.
That sounds serious.
It is, but the interesting part is how a person gets it. You see, both parents can carry the defective genes, but neither of them will show any symptoms, and so they are said to be carriers.
I'm not sure I'm getting this.
Okay, look. Remember that a child gets one chromosome from each parent. Right. So let's say that both of these parents are carriers. This means that each parent has one cystic fibrosis gene, indicated by the small c, and one normal gene, indicated by the capital C. Looking at this table then, we can see the chances of these parents' offspring having the disease or being carriers.
Oh, I get it. So the chances are one will be completely normal, two will be carriers, whilst the fourth will develop the disease.
Right.
But hold on. What if one parent has developed the disease, whilst the other is normal?
Well, that changes things, as you can see.
Oh, okay. So all offspring are carriers, because they only have one defective gene. But none will develop the disease.
Exactly. Another gold star coming your way. There is another type of inherited disease, and that's when the cell nucleus contains more than 46 chromosomes.
More than 23 pairs?
Yes. In the genetic disorder called Down syndrome, the child ends up with 3 chromosome 21s in their cells, because the egg that is fertilized has an extra chromosome 21.
So the child has 47 chromosomes instead of the usual 46.
That's it. It may have an effect on mental ability, or it might lead to the child being more susceptible to certain diseases.
Wow. It's amazing to think that this tiny spiral, which is in every cell, is responsible for so much.
Okay, guys, that video, I enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it. It sums up everything we are going to learn about chromosomes. Ne? So it didn't explain really the cell division, but it explains to you how chromosomes work, how they function, how they divide, and should there be mistakes or mutations that happen, what sorts of defects can they cause in the organisms. So we learned that DNA is found in these chromosomes. So basically, the chromosome is just a lots and lots of, it's DNA that is coiled so many times. That is basically it. So it's DNA, it's genetic information. And then you've seen what actually happens during fertilization, whereby you have the sperm cell and the egg cell. They meet together, and then the offspring will have 23 chromosomes from the father and 23 from the mother, ending up having the result being the offspring having a total of 46 chromosomes. You notice that, right? So we'll continue to discuss more details, but now you have a clearer picture of exactly what or how chromosomes look and how they function in our bodies. Let me know if you have any questions, né? And remember the link I gave you, you can access the video from there if you still want to watch some more. You can also find the link on that Siyavula Grade 10 Life Sciences textbook. It has the link to this video as well. So as this page is saying, did you know that human cells have 46 chromosomes? The 23 from the mother and 23 from the father. And then to test if you guys were paying attention to the video. Down syndrome, what causes Down syndrome? It was discussed in the video. Who was listening? What causes Down syndrome? Guys, were you not listening? All of you were not listening to the video. Well, remember I mentioned to you that you find 23 from your father, like this page is telling us, and 23 chromosomes from the mother. So the offspring will have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes in total. It will be 1 up to 23. But when you have Down syndrome, it means chromosome 21. You would have 3 chromosomes instead of just 2. Because in every other place, in position 1, you just have 2 chromosomes. 1 from the mother, 1 from the father. Position 2, 1 from the mother, 1 from the father. Everywhere it will be like that, except for chromosome 21. When it's like this on chromosome 21, that will then result in what we call Down syndrome. But don't worry, we will discuss this more when we discuss the disorders that happen during cell division. But for now, just remember this. And then another important thing to note about chromosomes is chromosome 23. Chromosome 23, this is the chromosomes here that determine the sex of the child. So if it is XY, so what exactly is an XY chromosome? XY chromosome basically means you have 2 short arms and 1 long one. Ne? You have 3 arms instead of 4 arms. Remember when I showed you that diagram and we have 4 arms? When you chromosome 23, if it's like this, XY, then it will result in a male child, which is a boy child. But if you have XX, then it will result in a female child. And where is the Y chromosome found? Only in the male children. So that means if you are, for every boy child, that Y came from their father. Because the male chromosome, like I'm showing you, it has X, Y. Every male person that we have, if you were to go check their chromosomes, you'd find that on chromosome 23, it's XY. And every female person, you will find that there is XX. Yeah? This is, there are special conditions that I will discuss with you when we get to this part of chromosome 23. But we will discuss it together at some point. Like issues where you find someone who is not transgender, intersex. What does intersex mean? Go, I'll give that to you as your research. Ne? So that next time we continue this topic, we will discuss intersex and we will try and argue what I'm saying right now. Every male is XY, every female is XX. But go do your research about intersex and then we'll discuss it in class, whereby we are going to try and now we're coming with a counter argument based on what I'm saying. Intersex, your homework, just go find out everything you can know about intersex. Literally start, Google intersex and come back and tell me what you found. Ne? So XY here is the male, XX is the female. This means that when the 2 people mate, the chromosomes, they'll only, in the egg cells, in the sperm cell, there'll only be 1 chromosome. Even in the egg cell, there'll only be 1. So if it happens that the male in that particular sperm cell, there was the Y chromosome, and in the female, obviously it's X, so nothing will change. It means their offspring will be a boy because it will be XY. But if it's the case whereby in this sperm cell, it was the X chromosome that was released. The female is always X, so nothing changes. So it means that child there would be a girl. You see? So what determines the sex of a child? It is the chromosome 23, particularly the Y chromosome, which will determine whether it's a boy, or the X chromosome, which will determine if it's a girl. And then this brings us back to the argument. You remember in the olden days, if you watch your stories, read your books, you'll see how people would even divorce their wives because this man wants a boy child and this woman keeps giving birth to girl children. Or how the men will marry many other wives because they want a boy child and their wives keep getting a girl child. Now that we've known and we understand genetics, you can clearly see that it's actually the male who is responsible for the sex of the child and not the female. So if anything, it's the male who should blame himself. But we will stop right there because you do not have any control over the genetics. So there's absolutely no way you can determine. You can't tell yourself, I'm having a boy, then you'll make a boy. You can't determine that. So it's all by chance, especially if things happen the natural way. Unless, of course, you're going to have a test tube babies whereby you're going to do the fertilization outside the body. Then you can then try and manipulate and determine and make sure that you want to create a boy baby or a girl baby, whereby you fertilize the eggs outside the body, but then they will be implanted in your body afterwards. That is the only way. If it's happening the natural way, you can never know. It's always by chance. So you get what you get, basically. So at the end of it all, bottom line is it's no one's fault that you keep having girls or you keep having boys. It's really by chance, 50-50 chance. And if you happen to only have boy children, then I guess the odds were in the boys' favor. If you only happen to have girl children, odds were in the girls' favor. So remember that when you are grown and ready to have your own families, it's no one to blame. There is the schematic diagram here of the animal cell. Remember animal cell? There. You have your animal cell in the nucleus over there. There are your chromosomes. There's the nucleolus. There is the nucleopause there. And then the spindle fibers. Remember I mentioned the spindle fibers that will form during prophase. Where are they? I spoke about spindle fibers. The centrioles give rise to the spindle fibers which form between the poles. So it's the centrioles. Centrioles will move from here to go and form spindle fibers. But in plant cells, we said there is no centrioles. So the spindle fibers will just form over there. Where is it? I want to go see it. In plant cells, there are no centrioles to move to the poles. So spindle fibers form in the cytoplasm. And then that was prophase. You understood what prophase is, right? Now we are moving to metaphase. During metaphase, the chromosomes will line up on the equator of the cell. Metaphase, chromosomes are lining up on the equator of the cell. The chromosomes appear in a straight line across the middle of the cell. Each chromosome will be attached to the spindle fibers by its centromere. So metaphase, to remember it, think of the M, which is middle, right? Metaphase, the M there stands for middle. Why? They are lining up on the equator, whereby they will appear in a straight line across the middle of the cell. So you see the middle there. When you hear metaphase, middle, the chromosomes are appearing on a straight line in the middle of a cell. There, you see? They are all in the middle of the cell. That M for metaphase stands for middle. That's my tricks. That's how I used to remember my work when I was still in grade 12 studying life sciences. And that helped a lot. So it will help you if you can try and create tricks for yourselves that will help you remember your work. It doesn't even have to be the same for everyone. Each individual is different, so whatever works for you, try it. I'm giving you my hints. Middle. It's in the middle. There. These chromosomes are in the middle here in animal cell. Then in the plant cell again, you see them there in the middle. So that's what happens in the metaphase. The chromosomes are lining up in a straight line in the middle of the cell. Basically that. In prophase, it's the formation of the spindle fibers. Remember, the centromere goes on the sides to form the spindle fibers. And then metaphase, the cells, the chromosomes are lined up in the middle of the cell. Is that clear, guys? Are you getting this? Do you understand? Okay, we don't have any more time now. So we will leave it here for today. I will see you next week on Monday when we, I don't know, Monday. I think I just want us to finish up with this topic. So during the first part of the lesson, we'll finish up with the topic before we start with the revision. We'll finish up with this slides, this presentation. Then we will start with revision to help you prepare for the assessment, which will be written on the 29th. I hope you're okay. Remember, if you have any more questions and you're too afraid to ask in class or what, you can send through to my email address. Again, it's provided here on this page, dgupega2204@gmail.com. I accessed the book for the work from Siavula Grade 10 Life Sciences and the Snaplify app. Use these sources. It will help you a lot. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Take care of yourselves. Bye.